What's up, Ravens fans? We're back from the bye week, and it's time to answer your questions in this week's Ravens Mailbag. We got a lot of them, like, is Rashad Pearman going to start once he returns from the lineup? Is Brent Urban going to start now that he's back in practice? And why didn't the Ravens look at Wes Welker in free agency? All of that and more on today's Mailbag.
Our first question comes from @JetBlack, and they ask, why didn't the Ravens look at Wes Welker at all? Well, Garrett, I'll give you 3 reasons. First of all, it starts with concussions. He had 2 in the final 3 regular season games in 2013. Then he had 1 in the preseason in 2014. So we're talking about a 34-year-old receiver who's had a zillion concussions over his history in the NFL. Now, let's talk about production. I mean, here's a guy who was catching 100 balls every single year, seemingly for the past decade. Last year, dips down to 49 catches and only 2 touchdowns. So his production kind of seemingly hit a wall after all those concussions. And I think the Ravens are looking to get faster, looking to get younger and faster, not older and slower.
Yep.
So when you bring in Joe Morgan, I think he has more upside, can stretch the field, which is what you're looking for right now in that wide receiver corps.
All right, the next question, this deals with a guy who just got on the practice field. Is Brent Urban going to start this week? No, Brent Urban's not going to start this week. Just getting on the practice field is a good sign for him, but you got to consider this is a guy who's never played an NFL game, was on injured reserve after an ACL injury his rookie year. Now he's been on injured reserve the entire season this year. Just practicing is a step in the right direction for him. And even if he was healthy at the start of the season, he still was behind Chris Canty on the depth chart as a starting defensive end.
Yeah, I don't know if that means he wouldn't have seen a similar amount of snaps, though.
Well, Chris Canty would have been the starter. The question is he going to start? Chris Canty, even if Brent Urban was going to play this week, Chris Canty would be the starter. And also, he's still probably a couple weeks away, I think, from getting on the field. He needs to get these practice reps. So once he gets on the field, I expect a rotational role. I still think Canty, and also Lawrence Guy, has now emerged as well. So he's really number 3 in the pecking order of that position.
Yeah, it'd be tough to start, but I think he can make an impact. I wouldn't want to look down upon that. Our next question comes from Kirk Hastings, and Kirk asks, which players do you see stepping up down the stretch? Well, I'm going to give you 2 names, Kirk. First of all, I'm going to say Timmy Jernigan. He's had 1.5 sacks in his last 3 games heading into the bye. And I see a lot more hustle from Timmy Jernigan, which is really what we were all looking for, what head coach John Harbaugh was looking for. Timmy needed to get his practice legs under him and in the game show a little bit more drive, more passion. We're seeing that now. Another guy would be rookie tight end Max Williams. I think that with the Ravens struggling at wide receiver with injuries and Steve Smith out, they've said they want to give more of a healthy look to these rookie tight ends, Nick Boyle and Max. I think Max probably has more increased snaps than Nick does at this point, because if they're going to use a split-out tight end to kind of replace one of those wide receivers, that's where Max steps in.
Yeah, he's a little bit more polished as a pass catcher in that regard. All right, the next question deals with Rashad Pearman, another rookie. When he returns, will he take on a starting role with Steve Smith Sr. out? Another question about a guy starting. And again, I'm going to say no. To me, you got to look at it right now. It is a similar situation to Brent Urban. Rashad Pearman hasn't been on the field at all in so long. So first of all, before we even start talking about him being a starter, we need to talk about him being on the practice field.
Is he even going to play this year?
And that's the other part. Right. I mean, John Harbaugh said this week that he'd be happy to get 4 games out of him. And even to get to that point, he's going to have some practice time that he needs to before he potentially plays those 4 games.
Right.
To me, I'm not confident that he's going to play at all this season. I really look at it and I say that it's a bonus if you get anything out of him. So rather than, we need to shift our mindset, I think, instead of saying, is he going to start and be a huge impact player? Rather, is he going to play at all, and what kind of development are you going to see from him this year? That's where my thinking is right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. Our last question comes from @Ambrose Dillon. I'm going to guess that's Dylan Ambrose. The question is, do you think we can win the rest of the games on our schedule? Can you? Sure. I mean, will it happen? Chances are probably not high. Probably won't happen. But yeah, the Ravens can. I mean, you look at their schedule, they only have 2 games against teams who are above 500. The rest of the way, the Steelers and the Bengals, who are, the Steelers, you already beat them once. The Bengals, you're playing in the last week of the regular season. They might not have anything to play for. Plus, the Ravens really could have beaten them too. So, I mean, yeah, when you look at it on paper, the Ravens can do it. But let's not forget, they just lost Steve Smith Sr., who was their best offensive weapon this year, who was carrying, to a large degree, the offense. So, it's going to be tough, but yeah, I think the Ravens can do it.
You know what John Harbaugh's going to say?
So we will do it.
Well, we got to win this week.
That's 1-0.
Got to go 1-0 this
right.
week. So they got to go 1-0 this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We appreciate your questions. Send them in each and every week on social media. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.